So it's another day, it's another Steve Shives video. I was meant to respond to this a while back when he first released it, but I had other things to do. But now that all those other things are done, take it away, Steve.
Yes, I'm a YouTube atheist, but try not to hold that against me, okay?
You see, nobody holds that against you, Steve. You hold that against us because we're not the right kind of atheist. So I know you're preaching to the choir here. You're not really preaching to us. But nobody holds the fact that you're an atheist against you. We hold against you the fact that you're a rabid ideologue. You're only skeptical when you have to be skeptical. So you will happily be skeptical of anything that we say or anything that a religious person will say. But when it comes to feminism, oh no, you can't be skeptical. You just listen and believe to everything they say. That's what we hold against you. Not your atheism. In fact, you hardly act like an atheist these days.
Here are 5 toxic things about YouTube atheism.
Great, Steve. Great, Steve. This definitely isn't a response to The Amazing Atheist or any of your other critics that you won't talk to.
Number 1, it has a sexism problem.
Or does it, Steve? Can you prove it?
Many of the most popular atheists on YouTube are brazen anti-feminists who insult and belittle women and men, but mostly women, who speak out against gender inequality.
Name names then, Steve. Who are these people that brazenly insult women and men who speak out against gender equality? Because as far as I know, the only people who do that are your type, Steve. And you do that too. Do you remember when you basically insulted men who can't see their kids, or men who have been shafted by the courts, and men who are suicidal? Yeah, I'm sure you remember that, don't you, Steve? You are the people who do this. But hey, you know what? It's not you, it's us. Projection people.
They also proudly deny the existences of things like the wage gap, rape culture, gender imbalances in political and cultural representation.
The first 2 things don't exist. It's statistically proven that they do not exist, and it's also culturally proven that they don't exist. As for the others, nobody's denying that there are more women in nursing, more men in politics. Nobody denies that. What we disagree about is why. Not that there is. Steve, stop misrepresenting the argument.
And other problems that are widely accepted and seriously discussed outside of the misogynist circle jerk that is the atheist community on YouTube.
Oh, because a few news networks and sites agree with you, Steve, therefore it's commonly accepted. You know, people in your echo chamber agree with you, therefore it's commonly accepted. No, Steve, that couldn't be further from the truth. And by the way, it's funny that you call us a circle jerk when you've blocked literally everybody and only talked to people who you agree with or who agree with you. Yeah, like you blocked Shayra because she disagreed with you on rape culture, and she herself is a rape survivor. So yeah, practice what you preach, Steve, you know. And what are these other things? Precisely, Steve, there are no other things. You're making it up.
But lest you think that sexism is the only form of bigotry running rampant in atheist spaces on YouTube, let me assure you.
It's funny how he keeps calling us the atheist community. We're not the atheist community. The atheist community is only a small part of what is essentially now more of a skeptic community, or I don't know what you would call it, the anti-social justice community. And then again, that's only a part of the atheist community, because the rest of the atheist community are either neutral or like Steve. I might be an atheist, Sargon of Akkad might be an atheist, Ahmed Skeptic is an atheist, but there are loads of other anti-SJWs and feminists who aren't atheists. There are agnostics, Christians, deists, anything really. But why is he attacking atheists and the atheist community, even though it's not really the community itself that is leading the charge? If he'd said, you know, what I said before, and so, you know, like Gamergators or anti-SJWs, I might, you know, understand this, but the atheist community, why? Haven't they already demonized it enough, these atheism pluses? It's this thing that just confuses me. I don't know what he means by it.
Number 2, it also has a racism problem.
Oh really? Does it, Steve? Because I'm a mixed race man and I've never once been or attacked because of my race. It's funny that social justice warriors are the ones who will attack me because of my race. You know, call me someone who has white passing privilege and all that stuff because I'm not dark enough. Yeah, it's funny how it's not from the people you accuse of being racist, but the people who are doing the accusing. Interesting that, isn't it?
And it's the best kind of racism too, the willfully oblivious kind.
The willfully oblivious kind? What are you talking about? What are they trying to be willfully oblivious of? Because they've been calling out a lot of racism recently. Is it because it's not racism by whites that you have an issue with, it's racism by other races? Because that's still racism, Steve, that's still racism. But again, I have to leave you to explain what this obliviousness is, don't I?
One of the most subscribed to atheists on YouTube recently made videos espousing his views that, for example, black Americans who speak out against racial injustice are part of a victim cult.
Ah, you're talking about TJ, the amazing atheist. Actually, he never said that. You're straw-manning his argument. What he said was that he didn't care much about gentrification, that gentrification makes areas look nice, and that he would rather live in a place that has been regenerated, as what we call it over here in the UK, than the place that is run down and full of crime. He never said that people who are anti-racist, who are black, are living in a victim culture or a victim cult. What he said was quite a few black people who are extreme leftists or SJWs or part of Black Lives Matters do actually exist in some kind of victim cult, and there is evidence for that. These are rich people usually, or middle class people, who are going around chanting, "We have nothing to lose but our chains," even though these are some of the most richest people in their community and indeed the United States. No, but instead you have to strawman his argument because you have no retort to this. Come on, Steve.
Or the displacement of black folks by gentrification isn't a problem because it results in nicer neighborhoods with fewer thugs hanging around.
Again, you're misrepresenting what he's saying here. He said that he would rather be in a gentrified area than he would a place that's full of crime, and said, why do people have something that's against it? And he asked why people against it in general, even if it goes right, because you do realise that there are different ways to gentrify or regenerate an area. If, for example, you regenerate an area and displace people and mix up the communities to the point where there's no cohesion anymore, that's wrong. And he never said that was right. But if you gentrify the area or regenerate the area to the extent that the same community is there and they're benefiting from this rather than being displaced, that should be a good thing, right? That's what he's saying. And it's just his own subjective opinion on the matter, really. It wasn't out of racism that he said that. And there'd probably be people who agree with him on that. And why is it, Steve, that you refuse to quote the amazing atheist or even mention the amazing atheist's name? Is it because you don't want what's left of your fans to go out and check what he had to say and maybe actually end up thinking, oh crap, Steve Shives was strong man that represented his arguments, and he might actually have a point. You're a coward, Steve. You're a coward.
Or, my personal favorite, the true outrage isn't racism, but people calling people like him racists. Because why would anyone think that the white guy who makes a virtue out of publicly not giving a shit about black people was a racist?
Again, you're strawmanning him. He never said that. He never said that he didn't care about black people. What he didn't like was people like your friend from Atheist misrepresenting him, strawmanning him, and accusing him of racism. That's what he said. What you claim TJ said is not what he said at all. And besides, since when was apathy racism? Being apathetic of people is not racism. I am apathetic about a lot of things. That doesn't make me anti this, anti that. And then again, he never actually said that he was apathetic to their problems. Quite the contrary, he's not.
It's ridiculous!
I know, right? Known anti-racist, anti-religion YouTuber TJ, the amazing atheist, is apparently a racist because Steve Shives strawmanned him and said that he's apathetic to black people's problems, even though this is the same amazing atheist who has attacked police brutality against black people in America numerous times on the Drunken Peasants. So, yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it, people?
Hang on, I'm not done. Number 3, it has a religious bigotry problem too.
Religious bigotry problem? This is the atheist community where a lot of them will be anti-theists and will criticise religion. That doesn't mean they're bigot. That doesn't mean they're against people practising religions. You yourself could basically be described that way because you criticise Christianity, Steve.
The ugliest religious bigotry in the YouTube atheist community is, of course, directed at Muslims, who are commonly stereotyped as potential terrorists and whose religion is viewed as inherently worse and more dangerous than any other.
Point to me one YouTuber that has stereotypically described Muslims as potential terrorists, and then get back to me, Steve. I've not seen that from all the big people, and I've not really seen that from any little YouTubers who are atheists either. They're criticising the ideology, and yes, it is a pretty bad ideology. This is an ideology that says paedophilia is okay, that you can kill apostates, atheists, or people who simply do not believe in Islam, and are other religionists, such as Christians, Jewish people, Hindus, take your pick, anything. Sharia law, which is inherently sexist. They impose brutal rules on people. It's very authoritarian, yet you're saying that it's not as bad as other religions? Really? How is pointing any of that out bigotry?
But there's still plenty of judgmental condescension left over for Christians and religious folks in general.
Steve, you're a prime example of condescending criticism of Christianity. That's what you do, or could be accused of doing. Your atheist reads, your 5 stupid things. Oh wait, 5 whatever things now, because you were told that it's offensive to use the word stupid, even though it isn't. You can be accused of all these things.
Many YouTube atheists will still cite belief in God as evidence of mental illness, thus denigrating religious folks and the mentally ill at the same time. Not that they give a shit.
I'm going to ask for a citation needed, and I know Danny Corse is going to be very upset with that, but hey, he's the one giving me an unsubstantiated claim. I want proof of that. Who has said that people are saying that because you believe in a god, you have a mental deficiency? Who's saying that, Steve? Now, I know what you're referring to, and to be honest, it does make a lot of sense though, doesn't it? How can you believe in something that you have no physical proof of, you have no real evidence for, only something that somebody wrote in a book several thousand years ago told you is true, and that this person in a church or a mosque tells you is true? There's something mentally going on there, although you're strawmanning what people are saying, or at the very least misrepresenting what people are saying. And by the way, when they say that, they're not trying to attack disabled people, so please stop being the defender of disabled people, Steve. Me, as someone who has Asperger's syndrome, is telling you not to do that, because we don't need your defense, your patronizing, horrible defense. We can defend ourselves.
Pushing the religious into the mud and then pointing and laughing at them is one of YouTube atheism's most treasured pastimes.
Again, Steve, prove it. Just because they like to debate these religious people in a debate arena on a Google Hangout or through the use of YouTube response videos, and do it very well, and usually will win these debates, and usually might be very harsh to these people in these response videos, but it's a back and forth that they are also very harsh in return. Doesn't mean that they like to drag religious people through the mud, because what's ironic is you are dragging the name of YouTube atheists and atheists in general through the mud in this video, which is very funny. It's just so ironic that you accuse YouTube atheists of doing that, Steve, when you're doing exactly that, and you have done this in a lot of these videos.
That might be why. Number 4, it's addicted to drama and conflict.
Oh, that's so ironic, Steve, and so hypocritical, considering that you also commented on social justice drama a couple months back, or even a year ago, when JJ Talks first started her accusations of sexual harassment in the social justice feminist community. Now, in that first instance, she happened to be right, but you still got involved and made a video about it. Do you remember, Steve? No, you don't, because at the moment, you're accusing us of that. And besides, we're a community, or at least you're assigning us a community called the Atheist community. Drama and conflict is going to happen, because there are individuals who won't always get along and might disagree on things. That doesn't mean we're addicted to it, that's just what happens. It's human nature, Steve.
Some of the most watched atheists on YouTube today began making videos in response to creationists. Some of them conducted themselves with class, dignity, and intellectual honesty, striving to have civil conversations with often exasperating adversaries. But even back in those less fractious early years, before the community's pervasive racism and sexism surfaced...
No, nothing surfaced. You lot came in, the Atheism Plus lot, the feminists, who wanted to control this community, because that's what you like to do. You decided to accuse people of that, to get rid of people, to ostracize people, to turn the community against each other so that you can weasel your way in. Nothing surfaced. But it's also funny that you, again, are creating these mythical people, or just not quoting names of people who apparently have class and dignity, against the creationists who were the complete opposite. Even though we know that a lot of creationists were like Nephilim free, a lot of them were like Venom Fangax, but there were some Christians who were debated who were not like that.
The most popular personalities were those who gleefully bullied their targets.
Again, Steve, you're the one making unsubstantiated claims about people. Where is this bullying? Who are the people who are bullying creationists and Christians, these people you're supposed to be against? I've never seen that. What I did see was people like Venom Fangax using bullying tactics and doxing, and trying to get people like Thunderfoot silenced because he didn't like that Thunderfoot was refuting everything that he said.
Small wonder then that once the creationist opponents had been exhausted, the bullies turned and found new enemies within atheist circles.
No, they got invaded by people like Atheism Plus, who were trying to control what they could and could not do and their movement. They didn't go and seek out new enemies. They were literally invaded, Steve. Stop trying to rewrite history. Do you remember that victim cult that TJ was on about? This is what you're doing. You are the one who is going around attacking YouTube atheism, like what Atheism Plus did, and then turning around and saying that, no, you're the victim because these people decided that they would try to defend themselves. Funny that, isn't it, Steve?
And it turns out that most people who enjoyed watching obnoxious white dudes attack Christians were just as entertained by watching those same obnoxious white dudes attack women, Muslims, and racial justice activists.
Apparently, they're the racists, yet here is Steve using their race against them. And in fact, not all atheists on YouTube are white. Sargon of Akkad might look like he's white, but he's a quarter black Saint Hellenian. I'm not white, I'm part Trinidadian. There was Sparky Fister once, although I don't know if he's got a new channel or not, and he left because he was getting doxxed. I don't know by who, but I don't think it was by racists, I think it was by religious people or something. Focus Break Habib is an Arab living in Dubai. Haram Girl, Spinosaurus Kid's girlfriend, is a Syrian Arab, also an atheist. And again, these people do not attack women, they attack the ideology of feminism, which is not women, Steve. And they don't attack people who are against racial injustice, they attack people who spread racial injustice, like Black Lives Matter, like any kind of race supremacist group like that. But no, in your head, these people are victims because of their gender, because of their skin colour, without any evidence to say that they are. So who's the sexist and racist here, Steve? I'm just wondering.
That the YouTube atheist community is now dominated by professional trolls who manufacture conflict in order to generate content and views would be bad enough if the damage they caused was confined to YouTube.
This is what he does, people. He's just dismissing these people as professional trolls, even though a lot of these people have been on YouTube a hell of a lot longer than he has, and has been debunking religion and other nonsensical ideologies for longer than he has, and have a much better track record than he will ever have. So this is just simple projection. He is the one who is part of the community that manufactures outrage in order to have legitimacy and to attack people. Namely, his friend JJ Talks, who manufactured the sexual harassment claims against Dick Coughlin, who's her ideological ally in many regards. Or Jenny McDermott, who he has defended, who also lies and spreads misinformation and tries to dox and flag people. But no, we're the professional trolls here, not them.
But it's not. Number 5, it reflects poorly on the rest of the atheist movement.
Steve, you, what's the rest of your fans, and your social justice friends that you haven't blocked yet in your echo chamber are not the rest of the atheist community or even atheists worldwide. Mitch's Law, people.
Ever wonder why, with a few notable exceptions, YouTube atheists are not invited to address secular conferences or represent atheist organizations to the public?
1, because nobody knows who they are. 2, they have been ostracized from these places that have been infested by people with your ideology who don't like these people anyway. 3, maybe they don't want to go and do these things, they'd rather just make videos. Or 4, maybe these atheist YouTubers haven't heard of these events.
If you're lucky, your first contact with atheism on YouTube came in the form of one of the more responsible voices, like Aaron Ra, Seth Andrews, or Matt Dillahunty.
So you're willing to tell people the names of people that you ideologically agree with, but not people who you disagree with, like the Amazing Atheist, Thunderfoot, I'm a Skeptic. You know, these are people who claim to be skeptics, I'm talking about Aaron Ra, Dillahunty, etc., but will turn off their skepticism when it comes to their social justice views. Yeah, great skeptics, great atheists, Steve. If anything, I would say that they're unlucky to have come across these people.
But unfortunately, it's much more likely that before you got to them, you discovered one of the people I'm talking about in this video, one of the proudly offensive, cluelessly bigoted assholes who might as well be caricatures of atheists drawn by alarmist evangelists.
Again, all the irony in this statement. You are the one who is painting these people as the caricatures that these creationists and these religious people would have people think atheists are. That's what you've done. That's what you are doing. And then giving us this caricature of what the good atheist is. is, which is someone who's not skeptical about certain things. Someone who thinks like you, thinks like Lacey Green, thinks like Dillahunty, and not someone who has their own mind and thinks about their own things and doesn't care if people are offended by things. You know, someone who isn't actually a bigot, but is a bigot, but only to a certain section of society because it's okay to be. That's what you're saying, Steve, and it's just horrible. But again, you won't name names. You won't name these atheists who you hate and despise because you're a coward. You even said on Facebook that if you had the power, you would remove TJ's channel. You would just terminate him because you don't like what he has to say. And that is what you think a good atheist is.
We atheists like to pat ourselves on the back for being more reasonable than the religious folks.
I'm sorry, but who's we? There is no we. You're talking about us, atheists, that you disagree about. There is no we here, Steve. Stop bullshitting us and stop trying to make out as if the whole community, and stop trying to make out that you are the rest of the community and we're this small minority that makes everybody look bad, when it's not the case at all.
But I don't think that's true. And judging by the most visible representatives of our movement on YouTube, the most unreasonable belief shared by many of us might be the belief that we're the reasonable ones. The hardest part is picking only 5. Catch you next time.
Pure and utter projection, Steve. That is exactly what the SJW atheists are like and believe, that they're better than everybody else. But really, you aren't better than everyone else, and you don't think better than everyone else. You're just self-righteous and think it anyway. And you know what? The hard part of picking what's wrong with you guys is there's more than 5. Yeah, I know. I made a joke about that, people. And that's the end of his video. He just shills as he usually does to his ever-decreasing audience. Until next time, people, this has been ShineMan93. If you like the video, give it a like. If you like me, subscribe to the channel. And if you love the channel, please donate to that Patreon. All links are down below. See you next time.